Good morning, mathematicians. Today we're going to be learning how to divide numbers using the traditional division algorithm. We're going to start off by dividing 357 divided by one divisor, which is 6. Before we get started, I want to introduce you to a strategy that you may have used before, but and it may look familiar to you, but I'm going to write these words down and I'll talk about what they mean. First, I'm going to write down mom. I'm going to write down dad, sister, brother, and of course we can't forget Rover. Now, mom simply means to multiply, dad means to divide, sister means to subtract, brother means to bring down, and then Rover is simply going to be our remainder. So during the course of division with traditional mathematics, we are going to be multiplying, dividing, subtracting, bringing down, and actually getting a remainder at the end. We're going to be utilizing that through our division here. It's just a way to kind of remember the steps that it takes to multiply with divide using long division. So let's start off with this one. We have the dividend of 357, and we're dividing that by that one-digit 6. So the first thing I want to do when I'm using the traditional method is start with the first digit in the dividend, which is 3. I want to ask myself, can 6 go into 3? And I know that 3 is smaller than 6, so the only number that I could multiply to get near 3 would be 0. So I'm using mom, and that 0 times 6 is 0. And then I'm simply going to subtract, and when I subtract, I get a 3. Now I want you to take a look at that 3 because really that's the remainder. That number that you subtract needs to be smaller than your divisor, and it is. It's a 3. It is smaller than 6. So we can go down to brother and we can simply bring down the 5. Right now we have 35. So now I'm going to go back to my mom. How many times can 6 go into 35 without going over? Well, I know that 5 times 6 is 30. So I'm going to place a 5 at the very top, right above my 5 there. And I'm going to multiply. Mom, 5 times 6 is 30. I'm going to subtract. 0 from 5 is 5. And I get a 0 from the 3's. Look at that remainder again, 5. 5 is smaller than 6. We're in great shape. So we're going to bring it down. We have a 7 left over. This 7 now is 57. And I need to ask myself again, how many times can 6 go into 57? I'm going to multiply. So 6 times 9 is 54. And when I subtract that, I get a 3. That 3, Rover, is smaller than my 6, so I know I have it done correctly. It's a remainder of 3. So I have 59, remainder 3 as my answer. Let's try our number. Let's try 425. Again, going with those steps, and we're going to divide it by 5. Again, looking at that first number within the dividend, I'm going to ask myself, can 5 go into 4? And it simply cannot, so I'm going to place a 0 because the only number that I can multiply by is 0. So I'm going to do that mom thing. We already kind of did that dad thing, thinking about how I can go into. So 5 times 0 is 0. We're going to do that sister thing. We're going to subtract, and we get a 4. Look at that 4 again. 4 is smaller than 5. We're in great shape. Let's do brother. Bring down, it's a 2. Now I'm going to ask myself again, using that division, how many times can 5 go into 42 without going over? Well, going up there with mom, I know that 8 times 5 is 40. And that's smaller than 42. So I'm going to do my sister thing and I'm going to subtract. When I subtract, I get a 2. Now I notice that 2, that remainder, it's smaller than my 5. We're in good shape. I'm going to do some brother. I'm going to bring it down. And to bring it down, it simply means it would now be 25. Now I'm going to ask myself, how many times can 5 go into 25? I know that 5 times 5 is 25, so 5 times 5 is 25. We're going to do my sister, which is subtracting, and we get a 0. There are no other numbers to bring down. There is no remainder left, so our answer simply is 85.